There's a moment every man feels but rarely talks about. That quiet shift in a woman's behavior that tells you something is off. Not dramatic, not obvious, just different. And most men sense it long before they understand it. Because when a woman starts disconnecting emotionally, her actions always reveal the truth long before her words ever do. The complicated part is this: women don't cheat the same way men do. When a woman steps outside the relationship, it's rarely impulsive. It's psychological. It builds over time. And by the time it becomes obvious, the emotional bond she once had with you is already cracking underneath the surface. But here's where most men get blindsided. They don't know what to look for. They confuse distance with stress. They confuse silence with mood swings. They try to fix things with more effort, not realizing that effort means nothing to a woman who has already mentally stepped away. The truth is, women can hide their intentions, but they can't hide their patterns. The small changes in tone, the sudden bursts of independence, the shift in energy when you walk into the room, the new secrets that didn't exist before, the strange guilt mixed with irritation. These are the signs men overlook until it's too late. In this video, we're breaking down the behaviors women can't disguise once their loyalty starts slipping. Not to create fear, not to fuel insecurity, but to give you clarity, the kind that protects your peace, your dignity, and your self-respect. Because no man should ever stay blind to the truth. And once you understand the psychology behind these signs, you'll never miss them again. First, a sudden emotional disconnect. When a woman's loyalty begins to shift, the first thing that changes isn't her body, it's her emotional presence. Women rarely detach overnight. It happens quietly, slowly, and in ways that most men overlook until the distance becomes too obvious to ignore. Emotional disconnect shows up in the small things first. She's there, but not really with you. Her responses become shorter. Her tone loses warmth, and the softness she once had starts fading. She stops initiating conversations, stops asking how your day was, stops sharing little moments with you. Her interest doesn't disappear instantly. It simply begins to drain like a battery no one notices dying until the screen shuts off. This shift isn't random. When a woman's attention moves somewhere else, her emotional energy follows. She may not admit it. She may not even fully understand it herself yet, but her behaviors always expose the truth before she's ready to face it. You'll feel it long before she speaks it. Imagine this. She used to look at you when you talked, not just hear you. Look at you. Now, when you're speaking, her eyes drift to her phone, to the TV, to the floor, anywhere but your face. She's not angry, she's not busy, she's just not connected anymore. She doesn't ask deeper questions, she doesn't react the way she used to. She's present in the room but emotionally somewhere else. And here's what makes emotional disconnect so dangerous. Once a woman disconnects internally, everything else starts changing externally. Her patience gets shorter, her affection feels forced, her attitude becomes unpredictable. She becomes protective of her own space because she's already pulling herself out of the relationship mentally. Most men try to fix this by doing more calls, more attention, more effort. But effort doesn't reconnect someone whose heart is already drifting. Emotional disconnect is the earliest sign of trouble and the most important one to pay attention to. When a woman is still committed, her energy reaches toward you. When she's slipping away, it retreats. And once that emotional distance sets in, every other sign becomes easier to miss because you're already losing her in the place where connection starts her mind. Second, new routines that don't include you. When a woman begins shifting emotionally, her daily habits start shifting too. Not in dramatic ways, but in small, gradual patterns that quietly reshape the relationship. One of the clearest signs is when she starts creating routines that no longer involve you. Routines that once included you without question. Human behavior is simple. People naturally make time for what they value. When a woman feels close, her schedule opens. She includes you in her plans, asks your opinion, and shares parts of her day with you because she wants connection. But when her loyalty begins drifting, you'll notice her life separating from yours one small step at a time. It might begin with new activities, sudden interests she never mentioned before, new girls' nights, new hobbies, or new excuses to stay busy. These aren't wrong by themselves. People grow and change, but it's the subtle shift in how she manages her time that reveals something deeper. She stops inviting you. She stops updating you. Her world expands while yours becomes less and less part of the picture. A woman who is still committed naturally gravitates toward building routines with her partner. But a woman whose mind is drifting starts creating emotional space by changing the structure of her day. She fills her calendar differently. She stops prioritizing shared moments. She becomes protective of her time, not because she's overwhelmed, but because she's redirecting her attention. There's a specific kind of distance that forms when she starts choosing independence for the wrong reasons. Not the healthy independence every person needs, but the kind that feels like a quiet withdrawal. You'll feel it in the way she stops checking in the way she doesn't ask if you want to join her like she used. Two, in the way she seems relieved when you're not part of certain plans. These new routines often serve one purpose: emotional detachment. A woman creating space is usually a woman preparing herself for separation, whether she realizes it consciously or not. And the more her life reorganizes without you, the harder it becomes to reconnect her emotionally. This shift isn't about busyness. It's about where her heart feels at home. When a woman still cares, she tries to weave you into her world. When she begins pulling away, she starts building a world where your presence is optional. Third, changes in communication patterns. Communication is one of the first places where a woman's shifting loyalty becomes obvious, not through dramatic arguments or big confrontations, but through small, consistent changes in how she interacts with you. When something in her emotional world begins to move, the way she communicates will always reflect it, long before she ever says a word. One of the clearest signs is a change in effort. A woman who once responded quickly, naturally, and with interest begins to communicate with hesitation. Her replies lose warmth, her curiosity fades. The tone that once felt open and easy suddenly feels guarded, flat, or distant. You notice the gap, not because she's busy, but because her energy no longer leans towards you. Even the way she initiates conversations starts shifting. She reaches out less. She shares less about her day. She stops offering the small updates and messages that used to come effortlessly. Instead, communication becomes something she gives in small doses, not something she offers freely. It feels controlled, measured, almost like she's trying to keep you at a comfortable distance without making it obvious. When a woman is fully connected, she naturally wants to share her inner world, her thoughts, her worries, her little moments. But when she starts disconnecting, her words become shorter, her voice softer, and her involvement minimal. You feel it in the pauses, in the silence, in the way conversations that once flowed now feel like work. There's also the emotional shift in how she reacts to you. Where she once engaged fully, she now feels unreachable. Conversations that used to lead somewhere now stop halfway. Topics she once explored with you become things she brushes aside. Her emotional availability slowly closes, and you can sense the wall forming even if she's smiling through it. Communication changes because her emotional center is shifting. It doesn't happen because she's tired. It doesn't happen because she's annoyed. It happens because her mind is no longer fully present in the connection. She becomes selective with what she shares and cautious with what she gives because she's holding pieces of herself back. These changes aren't about words, they're about intention. When a woman's heart is still in the relationship, communication feels alive. When she's drifting, it feels empty, fragile, or forced. Men often overlook this shift because they hope things will return to normal. But communication doesn't randomly change. It changes when a woman starts protecting her emotions from someone she no longer feels close to. 4. Defensive behavior over simple questions. When a woman begins drifting away emotionally, even the smallest questions can trigger reactions that feel out of place. You're not accusing her. You're not interrogating her. You're simply trying to understand what's happening. But instead of clarity, you're met with defensiveness. And that shift tells you far more than her words ever will. Defensiveness doesn't appear out of nowhere. It usually shows up when someone feels exposed, guilty, or unwilling to reveal what's really going on. A woman who is still emotionally invested has no reason to get irritated over basic questions. She communicates, clarifies, and reassures because she wants to protect the connection. But when that connection weakens, even the calms questions can feel like pressure to her. You may notice she gets irritated when you ask simple things like where she's been, who she's spending time with, or why her mood changed. Questions she once answered naturally now make her shut down or react with unnecessary tension. It's not the question that bothers her, it's the truth behind it. She doesn't want to explain her emotional shift because explanations force honesty, and honesty would reveal more than she's ready to admit. This defensiveness often comes with a subtle mindset of avoidance. She starts framing your questions as overreactions, even when they're not. She insists she's just tired, just busy, or doesn't feel like talking, not because those reasons are entirely false, but because they help her avoid deeper conversations she no longer wants to have. You can feel her pulling back, not because of conflict, but because she wants to protect the emotional distance she's building. Another thing you'll notice is the change in her tone. It becomes sharper, colder, or impatient, almost like she's rushing through the conversation just to end it. She wants to keep things surface level because going deeper would force her to confront the disconnect she's trying to hide. When a woman is emotionally invested, she leans into conversations. When she's slipping away, she shields herself with irritation. Defensiveness is a sign of emotional conflict. It means she's struggling with the gap between how she feels and what she wants you to believe. And that gap gets wider the more her loyalty shifts. You're not imagining the tension, you're sensing the emotional truth she doesn't want to face. A woman who is still connected opens up. A woman who's drifting pushes back. 5. A noticeable shift in physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is one of the strongest mirrors of emotional truth. When a woman begins disconnecting or redirecting her loyalty elsewhere, you'll feel it in the way her body language changes long before anything becomes obvious. Physical closeness becomes inconsistent, measured, or simply absent. Not because she's angry, but because her heart is no longer moving toward you. What makes this shift so revealing is that women rarely separate physical intimacy from emotional connection. When she feels secure, wanted, and close to you, her affection flows naturally. Her touch is real. Her warmth is present. Her desire feels effortless. But when something inside her starts shifting, her body withdraws, even if her words don't acknowledge it, you'll notice the small differences first. The lack of enthusiasm, the decrease in affectionate gestures, the distance when sitting. Together, the hesitation in moments that used to feel easy. She may still show physical closeness, but it feels forced, uneven, or disconnected from emotion. Her behavior loses the depth it once had, even if she tries to hide it. There's also a subtle emotional tension that builds around physical moments. What used to feel natural now feels avoided or postponed. She becomes tired, busy, or not in the mood. But it's not the excuses that matter. It's the shift in energy beneath them. Her body doesn't lean toward you. Her warmth doesn't match the past. The connection doesn't feel alive. Intimacy for women is rarely just physical. It's a reflection of where their mind is anchored. When she starts turning away, it's because the emotional flow isn't there anymore. Physical closeness starts feeling like an obligation rather than a desire. Not intentionally, just naturally, because her feelings are no longer aligned with the relationship in the same way. And here's the deepest truth. When a woman's loyalty is drifting, her body responds before her words do. She doesn't need to announce anything. The distance becomes its own language. A woman who still feels connected seeks closeness. A woman who's slipping away avoids the places where vulnerability lives. Sixth, energy and attitude inconsistencies. Energy never lies. A woman's words can hide things, her actions can be controlled, but her energy, the way she moves, responds, and carries herself around you reveals exactly where her heart stands. When her loyalty begins drifting, her energy becomes inconsistent. One day she's warm, the next she's distant. One moment she's laughing with you, the next she seems irritated by your presence. These shifts aren't random. They reflect a mind that's divided and a heart that's no longer centered in the relationship. But here's where I need to be honest with you. Many men ignore these changes because they don't want to face what they mean. They convince themselves she's stressed, she's tired, she's just in a mood. But deep down, you feel the difference. You sense when someone's spirit isn't reaching toward you the way it used to. Ignoring it doesn't protect you, it blinds you. Energy inconsistency happens when her emotions are split between staying and drifting. She might still care, but she's also testing distance, exploring uncertainty, or feeling drawn somewhere you can't see. And when a woman is emotionally conflicted, her attitude becomes unpredictable. She might act affectionate one day because she remembers the connection and cold the next because her mind is elsewhere. And men, you need to wake up to this. When a woman's attitude swings without clear reason, it's rarely about the day she had. It's about the emotional shift she doesn't want to talk about yet. Her mood becomes reactive. Her patience shortens. Her presence feels heavier. She's easily annoyed, not because you're doing something wrong, but because she's fighting internal resistance every time she interacts with you. These inconsistencies are not invitations to chase harder. They're signals to pay attention. They're signs that you need to ground yourself, stay calm, and observe what's changing, not deny it, not dismiss it, and not blame yourself immediately. A woman whose energy remains steady is emotionally anchored. A woman whose energy fluctuates is emotionally unsettled. Your job isn't to fix her mood, it's to recognize what it means. 7. Increased focus on appearance and independence. When a woman begins emotionally drifting, one of the biggest signs is how she suddenly reinvests in her appearance and personal independence. Not in the healthy, normal way people take care of themselves, but in a noticeable shift that feels new, intentional, and often unexplained. She begins putting extra effort into how she looks even in moments where it once felt unnecessary. New clothes, new styles, new makeup routines, or a sudden desire to look good for herself in situations where she never cared before. The transformation isn't the problem, it's the timing and the motivation behind it. When a woman's emotional world starts moving away from her partner, she often tries to rebuild her identity separately. This shows up in the way she dresses, the way she moves through her day, and the way she speaks about her goals or desires. Her focus shifts from us to me, but not with the healthy balance relationships require. It's a shift that feels like she's preparing for life without you. You'll notice she becomes more protective of her personal time, more invested in her space, and more enthusiastic about independence. She begins forming new boundaries you were never aware of before. She guards her privacy differently. She becomes more selective with what she shares. Her life expands in a direction that no longer runs parallel to yours. The deeper truth is this: a woman reinvents herself most intensely when she's emotionally separating from the man she's with. Her appearance becomes a symbol of a new chapter she hasn't told you about yet. Her independence becomes the emotional bridge that leads her away from the relationship. This shift doesn't mean she's doing anything wrong, but it does mean something inside her has changed. Her transformation is a reflection of her internal distance. And while personal growth is healthy, the emotional intention behind it tells you everything you need to know. A woman who is committed includes you in her evolution. A woman who is drifting grows in a direction where you're no longer included. Her appearance becomes sharper. Her independence becomes louder. Her world becomes bigger, just not with you in it. When these changes happen together, it's not just self-care. It's emotional preparation. When a woman starts cheating emotionally or physically, her behavior exposes her long before her actions do. And here's the controversial part: women rarely cheat without mentally checking out first, but men often ignore every sign until the damage is done. These signs aren't meant to create paranoia. They're meant to protect you from investing in someone who has already started withdrawing her heart. No man deserves to wake up one day and realize the connection he depended on was crumbling silently while he stayed hopeful. The purpose of this video is simple: to help you recognize patterns before they break you, to help you see the truth without needing anyone to spell it out, to give you the clarity and emotional intelligence that relationships today desperately require. And I want to hear from you genuinely. Share your experiences in the comments. Tell me which signs you've seen, which moments you ignored, which behaviors confused you. I read your comments and I reach out because I want this channel to be at a place where men find understanding, not judgment. Your experiences help other men heal. Your story might give someone else clarity. So don't hold back. Speak your truth. And in the next video, we're going even deeper into female psychology, into a topic most men are afraid to question, but desperately need to understand. You won't want to miss.